Thanks for launching the digital edition of Nightsounds with Bill Pearce. We trust that Bill's commentary will be a source of hope and encouragement during these times. After you listen to this online webcast, please consider a generous contribution to offset costs. Supporting Nightsounds on this platform is easy. Just click the Donate tab. We hope you are blessed listening to this Nightsounds program.
You happen to be a very important and special person right now as a listener to the program Nightsounds. A listener, well, at least for a minute 15 seconds. Hi, I'm Bill Pearce. I welcome you right now. Some years ago, I used to be part of an organization with the name Foremost Productions. That company that I was part of no longer exists, and in its closing death throes, we called it Almost Productions. Now, my apologies to anyone who happens to be a member of an organization called Foremost Productions. Any similarity is coincidental. But the change from foremost to almost reminds me that that's a very threatening word. Almost. Played a couple of sets of tennis a year or so ago, and it was a very close game. We went into overtime, and I lost by 1 point, and that was a cliffhanger. And I told my opponent I would rather lose by 10 points than just one. Well, let's not think of the word lose right now, because we have some good music to start. Sort of a country feel here, and it reminds us that the title is Calm Assurance. You can be assured. It's not an almost proposition. If, listen. He'll see me through. That is the difference between being almost and foremost. Foremost is a positive word. It means first. It means a winner. Almost, well, it doesn't quite make it, does it? And tonight's program title, Almost, reminds me that it's a sad word, too, in anybody's dictionary. It approximates the word nearly or next time, or the phrase if only or just about. Almost is a word that is tantamount to missed opportunities, aborted efforts, a gamble that almost paid off. Almost. Do you know anyone whose claim to fame is an almost? I used to work with a fellow who was always into something. He was known as a dabbler. He would dabble in this particular project or come up with some tremendously excited mood and say, hey, wait till you hear this. This is a surefire condition. This can't miss. We can't lose. Well, this fellow never really got anchored anywhere. It seemed he drifted all through his life. He went from one job to another. He sold used cars. He worked for a travel agency. Just wasn't able to get his roots anywhere. He almost made it. Last I heard of it, the fellow was still drifting around from one port to the other. Did I ever tell you about the time I almost was selected as the Employee of the Year? I almost get the same feeling when I hear of someone who was nominated. The Academy Awards every year touts the nominees. This person was nominated. This film was nominated. But only one was the victor. And we can talk all we want about he should have won. He had it in the bag. He was a shoo-in. There must be something wrong. But he didn't make it. He almost did, though. They say he almost made the big leagues. One little fella said, I caught a catfish that was taller than me. Well, almost. As long as there have been people, there have been almosts. People who almost won the battle, almost climbed the mountain, or found the treasure. Would you believe that there were a couple of almosts in the Bible? One of the most famous we find in the New Testament is named Pilate. What he missed was far more significant than a catfish or an award. He missed the big one. I think we can say that without being irreverent tonight. He almost was persuaded that this man had something beyond what everyone said. Another almost character in the Bible was King Agrippa in the book of Acts. Paul stood up before the king and the courtiers and the Supreme Court and anyone else of influence. And after he gave his astounding persuasive speech, King Agrippa said, Paul, you know what? You almost persuaded me. Back to Pilate. Pilate almost performed what would have been history's greatest act of mercy. He almost pardoned the Prince of Peace. He almost released the Son of God. He almost opted to acquit Jesus. He had the power and the choice. He wore the signet ring. The option to free God's Son was his, and he did it. Almost. How many times do these 6 ugly letters find their way into despairing epitaphs? They almost tried one more time. He almost became a Christian. Back to King Agrippa. Here was a man who, well, you pulled for him. When he said that, you'd think there's hope. But there really wasn't. He didn't connect. I'm going to play a recording from the Nightsounds Treasury, from an album called Great Hymns of the Faith. Each one of these old hymns has a story behind the writing of it. And the word almost is all through this song. And it settles once again on this historic happening in the book of the early church, the book of Acts. Let's listen.
Philip Bliss, a born musician, yet born in poverty, grew up in constant stress. He worked in his teens at a country sawmill for $10 a month. After marrying in his early 20s, he went about the countryside with his wife teaching music. He was always alert for themes. One Sunday night, while waiting for a train in Ohio, Bliss slipped into a church and took a rear seat. The preacher was reading from the Acts of the Apostles these words: "Then King Agrippa said unto Paul, Almost thou persuadest me to be a Christian." During the sermon, the minister said, "To be almost saved is to be entirely lost." And Philip Bliss had the theme for one of his most compelling songs of invitation, Almost Persuaded. Almost persuaded now to believe, almost persuaded Christ to receive. Seems now some soul to say, Go, Spirit, go thy way. Some more convenient day on thee I'll call. Almost persuaded, harvest is past. Almost persuaded, doom comes at last. Almost cannot avail, almost is but to fail. Sad, sad that bitter wail. Almost, but lost.
Almost. But. This is Nightsounds. Bill Pearce here. Thank you so much for coming, listening, tuning the dial into us. Maybe some of you just looking around for something to calm the nerve ends. Could be you've had it for the day. You don't want any more stress or pressure. You want some peace, some support, some inspiration. Well, I prayed that you'll have it tonight. As we continue with the program titled Almost. We were mentioning Pilate in the Bible, who stood as the temporary sovereign hovering over Jesus. In the case of Pilate, we don't have to look far to see the wide gap between he almost and he did. Dr. Luke, in his acute commentary in chapter 23 in the Gospels, says, "A third time Pilate said to them, 'What evil has he done? I found in him no crime deserving death. I'll therefore chastise him and release him.' But they were urgent, demanding with loud cries that he should be crucified, and their voices prevailed. So as a result of this, Pilate's pride prevailed. His fear prevailed. His power hunger prevailed. Pilate could have heard the voice of Jesus. He stood eye to eye with him. In fact, he stood there 3 times looking at Jesus, the compelling Nazarene. "What is truth?" Pilate asked. Jesus' silence was so loud that it almost drowned out the crowd's demands, but Pilate didn't listen. He also could have heard the voice of his wife. She pleaded with him to have nothing to do with, quote, "this righteous man. For I have suffered much over him in a dream." Or he could have heard his own voice. He must have been able to see through the facade. "Ananias, Caiaphas, cut the phony allegiance. I know where your interests are." Don't you think his conscience may have been speaking to him just a little bit? There's nothing wrong with this person. A little bit weird or different, maybe, but that's no reason to string him up. He could have even heard other voices, but he didn't. He almost did, but Satan's voice prevailed. Almost. Here's another word that's very important. We've settled on it before. It's the word contained in this next song. It's an instrumental, but I think maybe some of you old-timers will recognize it. It begins with a small word, but very significant one, only 2 letters. If I gained the world, but lost the Savior. That's an almost condition. But the thing is, it doesn't have to remain almost. The fact that we have this very moment, we have the next breath given to us by God in His mercy, in that we're not robots or automatons, we are people of discernment, of respect, of class. We can decide. There's no middle ground. We can't remain neutral toward Jesus because He did not remain neutral toward us at a very strategic moment. And our destiny will depend upon the word if and almost. It's not a scare tactic. It's an honest warning. So as we listen to the song once again, let's just reflect for a moment, even introspect, if that's necessary. Be honest with yourself. Have you made the decision, the most important one of your life? What to do with this man, Jesus? He wasn't just a martyr. He died. However, he rose again. That makes all the difference. Nightsounds, settling on the word almost. The London Concert Orchestra playing there. The song, If I Gained the World. But. Lots of small words, coordinating conjunctions that are very significant in our language. As we consider the word almost tonight, Max Lucado, in his book, No Wonder They Call Him the Savior, said, God never enters a shouting match with Satan. Truth need not scream. He stands permanently, quietly, pleading, ever present. No tricks, no side shows, no temptations, just open proof. People's reactions vary. Some flow immediately to the peddler of poison. Others turn quickly to the Prince of Peace. Most of us, however, seem to be caught somewhere in between, lingering on the edge of Satan's crowd, yet hovering within earshot of the message of God. This moment is strategic. Let's not blow it. Let's not lay our head on the pillows or go where we have to go tonight under the dark cloud of almost. Let's begin again.
Let's begin again. Let's begin again. Trust in Him and not our feelings, and leave the loneliness behind. Take my hand and then we can find a new beginning. Let's begin again while there's still time. Jesus made the promise, if two of us agree, the Father up above would hear our prayer. He is still the healer of hurting families. There is hope as long as He is there. Let's begin again. Let's begin again. Trust in Him and not our feelings, and leave the loneliness behind. Take my hand and then find a new beginning. Let's begin again while there's still time.
And we actually can begin again. Right now, this very moment. Because in Jesus' vocabulary, the word almost does not exist. You are either with him or against him. With Jesus, nearly has to become certainly, sometimes to become always. If only has to become regardless. Next time must become this time. So Jesus never had room for almost, and he still doesn't. Almost may count on horseshoes or hand grenades, but not with a great physician. Almost is just as good as never. Sobering words for us to take to bed with us tonight. Again, not as a threat, but as a condition, as a warning, seasoned and saturated with his love and grace. Thank you so much for sharing in these moments tonight. May it be a positive day for you tomorrow. Not almost, but triumphant. Until we meet again, a pleasant good night.